Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back to a new episode under the same topic that we discussed last time, which is how to teach Quran effectively. We talked about different scenarios. One scenario is that you want to focus on memorization. The other one, you want to focus on reading. And the third one, you want to focus on understanding. Oh, now let's see a human being from the early days until his death. Right. A child who is born, just now he's 6 months. Can we teach the Quran to the child as early as, what is the earliest age that we can teach? According to research, that we can teach Quran to the children even if they are in the wombs of their mothers. Sounds very strange. When a mother, she is pregnant, and this house recites the Quran much, right? All the time she recites the Quran, or she listens to the Quran. There are some research that says that a child in the womb of the mother listens. If it listens, and they say that that's why you should play a lot of music. Yeah, let them play music. Our music is the Quran. So we will play the Quran. One of the benefits of this is what? Is that the children, the young ones, they got used to register the new sounds. Saymaw minum. Can you repeat this word? I said something now.
Saymaw minum.
Huh?
Saymaw minum.
Huh? So everybody is looking like this, right? Well, I will say it again, right? Saymaw minum. Don't repeat it. Don't repeat it. Saymaw minum. Saymaw minum. Can you say it?
Saymaw minum.
Excellent students. But you were the same student just a second ago, 2 seconds ago, but you couldn't pronounce it, right? Because you didn't have a chance to register it, right? So one thing that you have to understand, that you need to listen to it many times before you say it. If you try to say it from the very beginning, you will make a mistake. Okay, this is one important thing, that it even applies to teachers' languages, not just Quran. Any language. You need to listen to it 1, 2, 3 times. Now it becomes very easy for you. You can repeat it exactly like the native speaker. So one beautiful thing, that when you use the Quran at home, when you yourself recite it, the child, even in the womb of the mother, gets used to it. So it's as early as this. When the child is born and you are rocking your child before it sleeps, of course you are reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas and Al-Ma'awwadhatayn, right, every day, right? So the child again gets access to listening to you. So listening. This is how anybody speaks his native language. He first listens to the parents, to the other children at home, listens, and all of a sudden he starts to repeat what they're saying. So the moment at any child, right, was born, and you are using Quran at home, even recitation by yourself or by tape recorders or by TV or whatever, right, the child, this is helping the child. If the child starts to speak up as early as possible, if he can say Allahu Akbar, that's fine. So let him say Allahu Akbar. Let him say Allah, for example, Allah. So he would learn to say how to say Allah. So give him just small words. Allah, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. The most commonly used words in Islamic context, okay? And it goes gradually. There is no exact age when you start teaching the child Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, for example. Okay? Right. So you can begin at any time. Okay. Should we delay helping the students to memorize until the child begins to understand? No. We should begin as early as possible, because the flexibility of the brain of the children is so active that you can get use of them. You can benefit from this feature when they are young. So let them memorize as much as possible, even if they don't understand. One of my students in the American Open University, yes, she taught, inshallah, she did a wonderful job, yes, with her daughter. She helped her to memorize the Quran at the age of 7 years and a half. Homeschooling. She's an engineer, the mother, but she didn't go to get a job and to get money, a lot of money. You know, engineers get a lot of money nowadays, right? She preferred to stay home, and she did this to her daughter. And in fact, she's from Texas. Now I think she is in Doha. She sent me even a ticket to attend the celebration of in front of 200 people. Yes, I tested the girl, and she did a wonderful job in front of everybody. 7 years and a half. She's Pakistani. She doesn't know Arabic. Her father doesn't know Arabic. Nobody at home knows Arabic. But they did the same method, and it worked very well. So you can do it. If somebody does it, you can do it. Okay, so now I want to tell you to focus on this. Do as much as possible to let your child memorize, right? Now there is no understanding, right? Here, just memorization. Students can learn songs, can learn nasheeds, can learn Qur'an, can learn anything when you tell them. Okay, now the children goes to school, and here is the problem. They go to school, kindergarten or grade 1 first, and you find a barrier is called the curriculum. The people, the elegant people who put the curriculum, put it in a way that very theoretical. So you would find they are insisting, for example, that the children would read and understand at the same time. I wouldn't do this. I would focus on understanding first before I introduce the reading of the same text. I focus on understanding first. You can say the verses and you can explain them until they understand them, and then after that you can open the book and even do some exercises before you get into the actual reading. The problem, as I told you, that when you teach the children the young surahs, the small surahs, the short surahs, they are difficult for the students to understand. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ is very difficult to understand. Samad is not easy thing to understand. شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ is very difficult for children to understand. So what is the wisdom behind teaching these verses to students when they are young? I'm raising this question to you and to many people who wrote books and to many people who developed curriculum. What is the wisdom behind? Someone would say that, are you saying that you want to make a revolution? Yes, I want to make a revolution in teaching. This is exactly my purpose. What's going on is going on in the wrong direction. If I were them, I would not begin with these ones. We already agreed that they can memorize them. So that's why, first of all, the curriculum should have some sections for memorization, some sections for understanding, and it depends whether for reading or not. So the students, while they are reciting many verses, can be, of course, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah An-Nas, Surah Al-Falaq, no problem, I said that. For children, it's no problem at all. But for understanding, I prefer the teachers, if they are brave enough, or the head of departments, right? They would be very selective. They would select the verses that would address how students learn. Children learn stories very well. They love to learn stories. So from my perspective, if we apply this rule, Surah Al-Fil would be very easy for children to learn. Surah Al-Masad would be for children very easy to learn. Any part in the Qur'an that has a story, you can take it and teach it. It's not necessary. There's nothing in the Qur'an that tells us we have to begin from here to begin from here. You have to understand that when the Qur'an was revealed to Muhammad ﷺ, it was not in that order, right? You know that. It was in that order. There's nothing in the Qur'an that tells us that you begin from Surah An-Nas before Surah Al-Baqarah, for example. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's nothing. It's human beings like you and like me who said, okay, let's do this way, and after this moment, they are impacting us. I would say it differently. But I don't know who is going to give you the authority or the power to change the curriculum. This is another problem that you will confront in schools. Nobody's going to give you an open check to do this. To go do whatever you want. And you have to fight for this to take it. Say that according to me, and that's why you can redo the syllabus. Yeah, I'm not going to focus on this. In terms of understanding, Surah Al-Fil, just few pictures, 6 or 7 pictures with you. You can teach it to the children. They memorize it. They understand it. They go back home and explain it to their parents. Even if they are 3 years, or they cannot do this with Surah Al-Falaq. They cannot do this with Surah Al-Ikhlas. Do you see my point? So it's not necessary to follow the track of the Qur'an. You select whatever you think that's simple for them, 4, 5, 6 ayat, and teach them. It may sound very strange, and I'm saying it in front of the whole world, but it is very, very beneficial. This is effective use of time. While the children are growing, right, you are using these moments to let them understand, to help them understand. We'll continue our discussion after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Don't go away. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's continue our discussion. Yes, we had 2 issues here raised here. Can you please raise yours?
Yes, Sheikh. We have seen this in my own experience, that if you go to a non-Muslim place like a hospital or something, and you're waiting over there in a queue for the doctor's turn for you to visit the doctor, you have this background music of their scriptures in a very low tone. And by the time you're sitting over there, you happen to repeat it. Can we use this in school, where you have this Qur'an being recited in a very slow rhythmic manner, and the student, they're doing some work, but at the same time, they're even repeating those words?
I think there's something very important, but we'll talk about using the Qur'an as a background, right? This is again 100% against Islamic ruling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, فَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. Whenever the Qur'an is recited, right, listen to it attentively. That's why sometimes we are in a car of a human being, of a Muslim, and we are, yes, he's playing Qur'an and he starts opening a matter and we discuss it. Okay, when are you going to come tomorrow? And Allah is speaking and you are putting him in the background. If you reflect upon this meaning, it's very insulting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is speaking to you, right? And you don't pay attention to him. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ one time was walking in the street and there was a woman sitting in one corner and she was reciting the Qur'an herself. And he was passing by her. And she's saying like, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة. Then the Prophet ﷺ stopped. She was not talking to him. And he stopped and he looked at her and he said, نعم أتاني, نعم أتاني. She was saying that, have you heard the news of the day of judgment? This is the verse. This is what the verse says. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية. So he stopped and he responded to her. He said, yes, it came to me, and he started crying. This is the response. You cannot cry if you don't reflect upon what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Oh, the whole world is one place, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is what we have to learn how to respect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the background. And remember what's happening around us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in a verse that Wallahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam. Allah knows best. Even if all the research in the world says that if you make it in the background, it will affect you and you will learn more, we will not take it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows more than all the human beings together. So this is the difference between us and others. This is a very important question. We've seen it in many cultures, but alhamdulillah, with the spread of correct knowledge, now it started to fade. Alhamdulillah. Good question. I think there was other 2 questions here. Yes, please. No questions? Good. No understanding? I think you were discussing something, sister.
I was just asking, sir, is it possible not that the child learns the translation, the meaning of the word, since that's not his mother tongue, before understanding it?
It would be a wonderful job. And I think, inshallah, every Muslim will owe you something, any of you. If you work on a project, selecting the easiest to go to the little bit difficult and the most difficult. Select the verses that can children understand before others. Like I said, that Surah Al-Fil, Surah Al-Masad, the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Rahman. I'm going to teach you, all of you, these verses today, inshallah. Inshallah. Yeah, so because they are very easy to understand. Okay, so if somebody works in the Qur'an would select 20 or 30 verses in the Qur'an. I don't say chapters. It's not necessary to be a chapter. can be part of a chapter. Put them in order and say that this is the best order, and he would test them with some children, right? And he will come up with this list, and it would be put in a curriculum, or at least to be published, and we can benefit from it. I think anyone can do this. 2 people work together, 3 people work together, spending some time, yes, they can come up with this. And we are giving some time for the child to grow up, because the moment the child grows up, he starts understanding, right, concepts. So at that time, we can go back and teach him verses. I didn't recall that I memorized the Qur'an in a specific, I didn't memorize the whole Qur'an. I wouldn't say that I memorized the Qur'an in a specific order. No. Yeah, there are some verses, yes, that because of the Imams usually recite them more frequently, we memorize them. So, but it is the importance of going back and checking the meaning. Are we clear now on some grounds, or still have some questions? Please do.
This is just to go back to what you said about playing the Quran as a background. I'm sure, but I just want to confirm from you that that means a Quran cannot be played while doing any other work. You have to listen attentively to the Quran. For example, a woman, when she's cooking, she cannot listen to the Quran while cooking.
A woman who is cooking, she can. Why? Right? Because the cooking, it becomes a mechanic act, right? Let's say that all my work is arranging these things here. So I'm taking this book here and putting it here. It doesn't take any mental focus on it.
There's
right?
no other distraction, you mean to say?
So there's no distraction,
okay.
Right? So if the act that you're doing is a mechanic act, right? Like driving. When you drive, right, it becomes, right, a mechanic act. You don't need a lot of focus in driving. You can listen. You can listen to the Quran. But you cannot talk to a person and respond and comprehend what he says to you while you are listening to the Quran. Do you see the point? Yes. And this is, again, a very good question. In fact, I advise women who work in the kitchen, right, to do this. But I don't advise them when they are correcting students' paper, they would be listening to the Quran, because they have only one heart, either with the Quran. But now I'm not using my heart at all. Even I am blind. If I am blind, I can take this and put it here. It doesn't need any attention at all. It becomes automatic. Good. Other questions? We need to discuss others before we get into the understanding. Now, remember when we said understanding, because it's all the Quran is concept. So we understand that most of the Quran would fall into the area of concept. It's not knowledge. Perhaps 80% or more of the Quran are concepts. Every verse almost has a concept in it, and we need to understand it. Do you see what I'm saying? So the amount of knowledge in the Quran may be very limited. For example, the number of years of Ahl al-Kahf stayed in the cave, the number of, see what I mean? This is the knowledge, but everything in the Quran is a concept, almost. So that's why Quran means focusing on understanding. The other one is the skill, how to deal with the skill in the Quran. For example, al-Shamsiyya, it is a skill, it's not a knowledge. If you ask me about what are the letters that constitute the al-Shamsiyya group, it's difficult for me to remember them, right? But I never make a mistake in them because I mastered, right, all of them. So now let's do something related to this. The sheen, for example, sheen, whenever you have alif lam before sheen sound, right, you don't pronounce the lam. So like shams, what would you say? Ash-shams, shubbak, ash-shubbak, shamsiyya, ash-shamsiyya, shamal, ash-shamal. And we can use 100 of words like this. Now you got the skill. We acquire knowledge by memorization. We acquire a skill by practice. We acquire or we learn a concept by understanding. Very clear. And that's why we said that in dealing with the Quran, because most of it is concepts, right? That's why we need to understand. Understanding, by the way, becomes a problem when you are grown up. Because all the time when you learn, you ask why. These questions that begin with why, they make you more aware and more conscious. And that's why children learn quicker than we do. especially in languages, and Qur'an is part of it, is a language, right? Because children are not conscious. They learn it like that, very quickly, as a skill. And that's what we need to do. But the grown-ups, like you and me, all the time ask, why is it this way? Why is it that? Why it is وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا, not وَالشَّمْسُ? Because of this question. The children would not ask this question. وَالشَّمْسِ وَالشَّمْسِ. That's it. They don't ask you why, right? Whereas in other verses, right, you would find it is الشَّمْسُ, right? الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ. We're going to study today. الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ. The children would not ask you, why is this, why is this? But the old people ask you, the grown-up people. And the more questions that you have, it delays your memorization. And that's why when I want to memorize one page of the Qur'an, it may take me 3 hours. From my child, who is 7 years old, it takes him perhaps 20 minutes to memorize it, or 30 minutes. Do you want in the process of memorization? Definitely our understanding is better, right? But the amount we memorize is very limited. It becomes easier for the child to learn because there's not a lot of things that confuses and distracts him or her. The older we get, all the problems in the world come to us. Children don't think of the problems of traveling, getting a ticket, being late to job. Yes, being late and the students are there and everybody is criticizing. They don't think of that. But you as an adult think of this, the consequences of this. And based on this, there is no place for them in their minds, right, to be distracted. Yeah, and that's why the earlier the better for them before they start knowing games and other things that would distract them. And even people, when they study, there are some proofs that even this lady that helped her daughter, her name is Reem. And I think if you write something on the internet, Reem, and the memorization of the Qur'an, you will reach this girl who memorized it 7 years and a half. And she asked me what to do next. I said that let her learn Arabic. She was very serious. She trusted me very much anyway. She took her daughter to Egypt. After 6 months, her daughter came back to Texas, and she became the translator of a teacher, yes, who teaches women, yes, in the mosque. 6 months, she learned the language. Yes. Children learn languages very quickly. Yes, my kids in Indonesia, I went before them to Indonesia and I stayed 6 months without my family, learning the language, hiring the best tutor in the world to teach me Indonesian. And then when they came after a month, they spoke better than I did. Yes, I think it's an interesting topic. Inshallah, we'll stop here and we'll continue in the coming episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Little baby, pure and small, He created you, He created us all. Hush, little baby, don't you fear, we're never alone when Allah's so near. Hush, little baby.